Hey everybody, it's Renee again, and today I'm getting ready to make a pot of collard greens mixed with some cabbage. So um, basically our ingredients will be some fresh collard greens and a fresh head of cabbage. We'll also use some olive oil, salt, pepper, onion. I have a red pepper here. We'll use some other little seasonings and garlic. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started. For convenience, I do like buying the bag greens. This particular bag says that it's triple wash. All you need to do is cook and serve, keep refrigerated. So sometimes that can be a little bit more expensive, but it saves time on the cleaning and picking and all of that. So I'm just going to dump this entire bag into this large pot. You will need a large Dutch oven. Oh, I might not be able to add any cabbage because there's a lot of greens here. So I'm going to add some water. And I probably added about 2 cups of water, 2 to 3 cups of water. And I'm going to put this on high just so it can just start cooking pretty fast for me. And we'll put a lid on it to get it started. In the meantime, I'm just going to go ahead and start cutting up my onion. The onion will add a lot of flavor. I don't really think you can have too much. I'm going to put this whole onion in here, but I also have a little bit of onion left over that was in the fridge, so I'm going to use that also. You can just do a rough chop on your onion. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. So I'm just chopping this up. As you can see, I'm just making some slices, but I'm not cutting this all the way through the core. This is typically how I create chopped onions. It's just a rough chop. Make sure you watch your fingers, get them out of the way. You don't want any accidents. And I know this looks like a lot of onion, but onion gives a lot of great flavor. I probably should save this onion for my potato salad because I will be making that later. But yeah, I think I will, actually. I think I will use this onion for my potato salad. So I'm just going to go ahead and add this onion to the pot of greens. And again, these are collard greens. They've already been chopped up because I bought them that way. That saves on time. And then I'm just going to chop some garlic here. This is fresh garlic. I've got 2 cloves here. They're pretty large. Just going to do a rough chop. Doesn't need to be minced. That's going to go in the pot with the greens and the onions. And then I have here half of a red bell pepper. And I'm adding it because I just think it's going to add some nice color to our dish. I'm just cutting out the core, and I'll rinse this off because there's some seeds. And we'll do just a rough chop on this also. Doesn't have to be all neat and the same size. Growing up, my mom was a real stickler about having all the onions and peppers cut to the same size. And I used to do that, but when you're teaching other people how to cook, that kind of takes the fun out of it. Because you're trying to have everything so perfect, and it doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to go in there and just needs to be cut up and put in the pot. So I'm just chopping this up real roughly. This is going to add a very, very pretty color to our pot of greens. If you've never had collards and cabbage mixed together, you have been missing out on a really tasty treat. It's very, very good. I didn't really know you can do that until I got married, and my husband's mother, she's a very, very good cook, and she used to mix the collards and the cabbage together, and so my husband started asking me to do that, and I found that it was really tasty. Very, very good. And so we do it quite a bit. I do. I also add kale to my cabbage sometimes, but I don't have any of that on hand. Oops, okay, so here, again, it's just a rough chop, and we're gonna add this to our pan, or not our pan, but to our pot. And I'll just check on this real quick. Let's just see how things are going. I've got these on high because I wanted to cook down. And the reason why I added the collards first is because they take a lot longer to cook. They take longer to cook than the cabbage does, so I want this to cook down for a while. And I'm just stirring this up so I can have some more room. This is starting to wilt a little bit, so as you can see, when I first added this, there's a big leaf. I'm just going to cut this a little bit, just so that it's all uniform. That initially it looked like we had way too many greens, but they do cook down, meaning they wilt, and that will leave room for the cabbage to go in. So now we're just gonna add, the red, and it's just a very pretty color over here. Can you see it? So all I've added so far is the collard greens, the red bell pepper and onions, and doesn't that look very, very pretty? And I've got this on high, but we're going to eventually turn it down. And I don't have a lot of water in here because I don't like a lot of juice. At this point, we're going to add in a little bit of vinegar. And I like to use apple cider vinegar. The apple cider vinegar helps tenderize the greens. So we're going to probably just put in a tablespoon, because I don't want the vinegar to be the main taste. Okay. And, excuse me, because I'm not adding any type of ham or fat, I'm going to add about a tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil. We'll add a little bit of salt, probably a teaspoon, and a little bit of pepper, black pepper. We'll also add a little bit of crushed red pepper flakes. Not a lot because we don't want it too spicy. And then I'm going to add some paprika also. Just a little. I went lightly on the salt because you don't want things too salty. And you want to allow people to salt their own food if they prefer more. So this is really boiling. I'm going to turn it down just a little bit. Another thing that I like to add, since I'm not adding any type of ham or smoked turkey to this, I do want a little bit of flavor, ham flavor. So I will add a couple packets of powdered ham flavored seasoning. I'll just add that. I keep this on hand because sometimes I add this to beans. I add it to soup if I want that ham flavor, but I don't have any bacon or anything like that in the house, or any ham hocks. That's not something you keep on hand, so I keep the seasoning packets. There's also like a pork or ham bouillon that you can use. So we're just gonna let that cook down a little bit more. These are gonna be pretty much almost done before I add any cabbage. So in the meantime, we're just gonna go ahead and start cutting up the cabbage and getting it prepared to put in the greens. So what I'm gonna do is just remove some of the outer leaves. And I'm going to rinse this off real quick. And because the cabbage has a core, we want to cut right through the middle, because we're going to need to remove that core. This is a little cabbage. So all I'm going to do is just come in here and watch your fingers. Make sure you don't cut yourself. We'll remove the core. Okay. Do the same thing with this side. Just come in here. I usually cut at an angle, and just core comes right out. So since that, because the collard greens are already shredded up, or not really shredded, but they're sliced thin, we're going to try to do the same thing with the cabbage. So cut this in half, and then I'm going to cut these the same width, or as close as I can to the same as the collard greens, because the collard greens were kind of like this. And then we'll put this in a bowl, and I'll go ahead and take it apart. And we'll just loosen that up. Just keep cutting this and watch your fingers. Okay, we'll do the same thing with this half. Just continue to slice this up. And again, I'm trying to keep it the same width as the collars were, and the same length. So all that is going into this pot. I hope I have enough room. But this also is going to cook down. All right. Okay, I'll just cut some of this up because we didn't have any long pieces like this of our collard greens. So I want them all to be somewhat the same. Okay. So I'm just gonna sit this aside, and we'll just wait for the collards to cook a little longer, and then I'll come back later and show you the process of adding this and letting it cook a little longer, and we'll show you the final product. Alright, so we're back here at the greens. They have cooked down quite a bit. And by the way, I did add a little bit more water, okay, because I didn't think I had enough. But they are tender. I've taken a few out of the pot and tasted them. They are tender, and so they are ready for the cabbage to be added. So I'm going to just start adding the cabbage. I'm just going to add a little bit at a time first, and then stir this around to help get them wilted faster, I guess. And then I'll add some more. And then I'll stir this up a little bit just so I can have some room. And I'm going to probably have to add a little bit more water, as you can see. Okay. Add the rest. And I'll just grab a little bit more water. I don't like my greens and cabbage swimming in water, you know, all that juice. But a lot of this is going to cook off, so it's going to evaporate. So I'm just kind of mixing this in. Ooh, I don't know about y'all, but that looks good to me. What do you think? And I've got a new camera person today. It's my son-in-law, Zylan, and he's doing a fabulous job. I thank him. He says these greens smell really good. Don't look good?
Look good to me, that's for sure.
Okay, so we're just gonna let this continue to cook, and I think I will add a little bit more water. And you can see how much water there is. Barely covering it, but you know, and remember we've got the red pepper in there to give it some color, red bell pepper to give it some color, salt, pepper, paprika, garlic, and we did put some ham flavored seasoning in here. So eventually you want to taste this and just see how it tastes, but you don't want to overdo it with the salt. You want people to be able to salt to their taste when they get their helping or serving. So this is all mixed up. I'm cutting it down to medium to low and just let that simmer. And we'll come back and show you the final product. So hello everyone, we're back with our dish. We have collard greens and cabbage cooking today, and this is the final product. I just want you to see this, how everything is mixed in. We cooked the collards first because they do cook a little longer. They take longer than the cabbage. So we added the cabbage last. And so everything is done. And this looks delicious. So we're just gonna plate some of this. Wow, look at that. Very pretty. We'll just add, let's see here, just for color, we'll add just a few red bell peppers on here. And doesn't that look very tasty? And that's all it takes. I mean, that was very, very simple. This is a nice, healthy meal. We had collard greens and cabbage mixed together with some red pepper. We also added a little extra virgin olive oil, pepper, salt, a little vinegar, garlic, and onion. So there you go. Happy eating, and it only takes one meal at a time to become a great cook.